Secret Service Sam, the podcast. It's Secret Service Sam, the podcast. It's not so secret because you're here. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, this is Secret Service Sam. I am live from the Menendez house. Do you believe this? It is fully under construction. I'm not quite sure what kind of reception we're getting on my end. It looks good. I don't know how you guys are viewing it. I am going to bring up my guest really quickly to see how we are doing. I have my good friend Justin, the Nick of Crime, is here. How you doing, Justin?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm just wondering how this live feed is working because, like I said, on my end, everything appears to be going pretty smoothly. But you were saying I looked kind of blurry. Um, but
Well, we both look a little blurry on my end, so I wonder what your viewers have to say.
I am too. I don't know that. So, what we're going to do is we're also recording this. So, I believe what I'm seeing right now looks good. So, I will upload this recording if the live feed is no good. So I'm at the Menendez house, and I'm going to step out of the frame for a minute, and I'm going to give our viewers, let me give you guys an exclusive just real quick because I had no clue that it was under construction. So let me
I didn't know that either.
No, I don't know if a lot of people did. Let me bring my shot to a solo, and so people can get a really exclusive shot. They're doing construction here. Those are the doors. I mean, I just can only think about Justin, like being here. It's just you can't help. And I believe was it back in 1993 or was it that the double homicides happened? Do you know what the year was? Or
It was 80. It was 89.
89. Oh, okay.
When it happened. 89 toward the end of the year going into 1990 would happen, and they didn't get arrested, I believe. And I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure they didn't get arrested until 1990. They got them through Christmas and all that kind of stuff, I believe. And then they got arrested. They were held without bail. They had a trial at sometime in the early 90s, that a deadlock hung jury. Half the juries, basically they couldn't agree. And then there was a second trial shortly after the O.J. Simpson trial. So I think that was like 93.
Yeah, wasn't that interesting? I feel like the Menendez trial was right around the OJ trial, which I actually which I have some family friend block over from here, and I remember them talking about it, how much it just shocked this neighborhood because, you guys can, see around me, this is just a beautiful this is 90210. This is the heart of Beverly Hills, California, the heart of just privilege. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you were like me growing up watching 90210. This was just known as the richest area code in the world where all the celebrities live. And so when this, sorry, I'm trying to get my camera. When this happened, I mean, it just shocked the world. And, the way they unalived their parents is shocking, was, how can I say this on YouTube, was abusing
what his father
them.
was doing there you go.
And what more can you tell me about that, Justin? Because I know you've been following this case a lot more than I have.
Well, first, let me start with this. The house that you're standing behind, when the Menendez family purchased it in 1988, they spent back then, $4 million on the house.
Oh, wow.
It sold last in March of 2024 for $17 million. Now, as you said, you can see everything around it, which I didn't know was going on, renovating it, meaning that it's probably going to be worth, I would say, upwards of that $20 million range once they're doing it. So when this happened, this didn't happen in Beverly Hills. This was not something that happened. This is the most exclusive zip code in the entire country.
Right.
So things like double homicides just didn't happen. Now, that being said about this case, there's a lot to it. So for people who lived it back then, remember what had happening. A lot of people of a certain age have a very strong opinion of it, thinking that the boys were greedy, that they wanted money, that's what this was ultimately about. And I don't believe that. And a lot of people believe the abuse wasn't real. Well, I can tell you that just this past week, July 2025, the judge ruled that the evidence of S abuse is not only the claims are credible as well as the evidence.
Wow.
Meaning that a habeas corpus could, that they've been pushing for habeas corpus, which means kind of an overturning of the conviction, so to speak, which could ultimately result in them getting a brand new trial. Now, at this point in time, I'm going forward before I go backwards here. At this point in time, there's a couple things going on. First of all, they've already been resentenced. So originally when they were sentenced, and we can get more into this, but originally when they were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And they were just resentenced a few months ago to 50 years to life, meaning that now they've been in for, they've been in since 1989. They've been in for 36 years, right?
Wow.
Now they are eligible for parole. So they have a parole hearing in 30 some odd days now, a little over a month. And that could determine whether one or both of them make parole and get out. In addition to that, if that doesn't go as well, Governor Newsom's office has the ability to either parole them or overturn or commute the sentence. But now they also have this other option, which could result in very likely would result in a brand new trial with all the new information of abuse, which means that let's say they get convicted under the new trial, and they get convicted under, with us having better understanding of this type of abuse, which for people who didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s and even prior to that, abuse didn't happen to boys. Okay. And I'm not saying that it didn't actually happen, but that was the mindset, is that it couldn't happen to boys. And this is the same time period where if it happened to girls, like let's say you're, 7, 8 years old, family friend, uncle does something, then this was the same time period where a lot of people would shame you as the victim, saying, well, what did you do to tempt him as like a little kid? So this is kind of the mindset that this trial was centered around. You got to think that these were older, people who were on this jury back in the 80s and 90s. They might have been 40, 50 years old, give or take then, which, puts them being born in the 30s and 40s. So this mindset is very different than what you would see now for people who would be very likely on this jury from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, with a completely different mindset and understanding of trauma, which leads me to the other thing. They just took their parents' lives for the money. Well, I'm going to disagree with that because number one, if you look
because I was that's how I thought, like you were saying, coming up in the 80s and 90s, that's what we thought, is that these rich kids, oh, mommy and daddy grounded you, and it was these spoiled kids. I had never heard anything about the SA abuse at all. But continue.
Well, so apparently, yeah, and I know that's a good point. And so let's talk about that real quick. In the first trial, it was brought up. It was talked about. And that's why there was a deadlocked jury. And the jury wasn't whether or not they were guilty or not guilty. I mean, they were guilty. Look, at the end of the day,
we know what happened, right?
We know what happened, and that's not okay ever. Like, that's not the answer.
And tell people what happened, Justin, just for people that do not know about this case and what happened.
So, to keep it as social media friendly as I can,
of course.
And I've done extensive write-ups on this, and I've actually and I'll just tell people, just to plug my own channel for a minute, on my Substack and on my YouTube, I've done extensive articles about this case. I also had on the Menendez family spokesperson a couple months ago. Her name is Anna Maria Baralt. She is the first cousin and family member. And real quick on that note, every single living family member supports the brothers' release. They are all every single one. There's not a one who doesn't support their release. And so we had her on, so you can kind of listen from that side of the story as well if you want to check out my YouTube and my Substack, which is
great.
Just in the Nick of Crime. Okay. But basically what happened is, according to the brothers in the stories, they believed, number one, they had been being abused from the time they were about 6 years old by their father, Jose. Obviously, this is alleged, so I don't get
Of
And
course.
one of the boys come forward as the time he was an underage boy, is talking about what Jose had done to him. Now, real quick to understand Menudo and Jose's mindset, this was something where they wanted that like Hanson feel. They wanted those young voices haven't changed puberty thing. And his whole concept was when a member ages out, we replace him with somebody younger.
Oh, look at this.
So
We've got tours come by this house every day. So just to show you, hey guys. Sorry, Justin. Just to give people an idea that this is
you're good.
this is a tourist destination. It's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and so what happened? Yeah, so what happened though? Basically, the end of this, to answer your question, is the brothers took 2 shotguns into that room and hit their parents at close range. It is brutal, is an understatement. And then when they ran out of ammo, their mother wasn't dead yet. They went back out and reloaded so that they could finish them off.
Oh wow.
And so it's brutal. And when you look at this again, this goes beyond like 2 spoiled kids after money. And I'll talk about the money in a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's personal. That's something going on. That's not just hey, I'm mad at my parents. Let me, take their lives. This had meaning behind it. Now, as far as the spoiledness goes, people back in the 80s and 90s, as you know, it was looked at as, oh, they were spoiled. They went on a spending spree. And yes, they 100% went on a spending spree. I don't even know how much they spent. I think
so I didn't even know about that. So after this happened, they went and were spending money.
They were spending shit tons of money.
Oh, wow.
Pardon my language. Like Lyle literally went out and bought a Porsche. So, like a 911. And a lot of money. But here's what people think. Oh, this was the insurance money. They never got the insurance money. All of this money came from the estate. All this came from either insurance payouts, like life insurance payouts, or it came from cash accounts that were already accessible. They never ended up getting the estate because of what happened. And so it was never really about that. But when you have a lot of therapists kind of look at this and analyze this stuff, because now, we have, several decades of being able to kind of look at this in new knowledge and from a new lens. It's been basically universally agreed upon that their spending spree is essentially a trauma response, that the first time in their lives they were free. And so this was kind of part of that they didn't have to answer to anybody. And so they were kind of doing what they knew how to do. They lived in Beverly Hills. They had a father, they were raised, with excess. And, 80s was the decade of excess. So, right,
really
you have
was.
These kids from Beverly. Yeah. So you have kids from Beverly Hills, name brand clothes, $40,000 tennis lessons, dad buying cars, Mercedes in the driveway, Alfa Romeos, Rolex watches, designer clothes, all this stuff. So this is what they knew. This is the life that they knew, and they had the money. So that was their trauma response. Think about this. Sometimes, we call it retail therapy as a joke. If you get depressed now, a lot of people will just go out and shop. It's called retail therapy. It's kind of a similar situation.
I did it yesterday. I went and bought some Smurfs for my collection.
Yeah, see,
that made me happy.
See, there you go. I buy DeLorean parts.
Exactly.
So what can I do? What can I do to my car? But that's kind of what this is. They just have, you got to put it in perspective. They had more money than us.
Yeah.
So they could afford more things. Whereas you and I might go out, like I might buy a couple parts. You might buy Smurfs. They went out and bought a Porsche because it's all relative, right? They live in a $4 million house in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they have access to millions of dollars in accounts. You know what I'm saying? I think Jose, I forget how much he was worth back then, but I think he was worth like 17 million back then.
Right.
I'm gonna double check.
Yeah. And also, did they say that there were home invaders or something like that? Or because
the
originally
mafia.
They didn't. Oh, that was right. They said it was the mafia, right? Yeah, it's just interesting.
Yes, the mafia. And they said my dad had some shady business dealings. So his estate at the time of death was worth about 14.5 million.
Right.
So let me do a conversion on that while we talk.
Yeah, what is that? That's probably closer to 40 or double, you'd think.
1989 today. I think it's probably more than that.
Right.
Let's look at the inflation calculator.
Get that inflation, and inflation's high right now too. So
Yep. Okay, so in 1989.
Okay. See, I wish
14.
what I like. What? Yeah. What did it
Go
say?
ahead. No, in 2024.
Just the upkeep of these
About
homes is
almost
insane.
$37 million
So almost
is what
40
that estate was
million.
worth.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a
That
lot
is
of
a lot of
money.
money.
And part of it was Beverly Hills real estate. Part of it was entertainment industry stocks. They had another home in Calabasas, which you can tell people is a very nice area. They had a
Yeah.
condo in New Jersey. Another $650,000 back then in cash.
Wow.
So that's what the boys immediately had access to. They had another 30 grand in jewelry, 30 grand in furniture. So
wow, something like that. I mean, there's sky's the limit when you have money. But what I think is interesting is
artwork, cars.
I mean, yeah, I think it's interesting that they're just renovating. They're like gutting this whole place. I mean, you can see the doors open, and they're just because I mean, but don't you think now? Does this add value to the home that it has this fame that people are that Hollywood tours are always going to be stopping in front of your house because this is where a double homicide happened? How do you cleanse a place of this energy? You know what I mean? It's like it's even kind of crazy
I
standing
don't think you
here.
can.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy standing here just thinking about like because I've seen the pictures of the two boys on in front of those steps. Like like that doorway is so recognizable. You know what I mean? Like it's almost
Very much.
you'd almost have to like demo the house and put up a new house to totally so that way people wouldn't come by and be like there's the Menendez house if you completely demo it. But the problem is how expensive is that to demo this entire home, and I'm sure people aren't going to do that. But yeah, it's very interesting.
So to answer your question on that, I mean, it depends on the buyers. Like you look at the chart, the Helter Skelter house, right? The
Sure.
La Bianca house. It takes a certain type of buyer or renter to want that. Is that going to turn people off? I don't think I would want to own the house, and it would be a shame too, because it really is a beautiful home. And just so you guys know, for your viewers, you might not know this. There are some very famous people who have lived in that house.
Oh, no, I don't. Who has lived here? But yeah, and that's the thing.
Elton
People
John.
don't realize. Oh, Elton John. I had no idea. Wow.
And Prince had lived there at one point.
What? When did that happen? Was that before the Menendez brothers, I guess?
The brothers.
Wow, that's fascinating. So Prince and Elton John also, I had no idea. That's what's neat.
That house is
a lot of if those walls could talk, huh? I mean, what's so cool about a lot of these Beverly Hills homes is, like you said, is these homes have been here for some like 100 years or whatever, but they've been here through so much Hollywood history that so many just in this neighborhood, how many different celebrities have lived in these houses is really that's cool to know the history. I didn't know that Elton John and Prince, two of the most famous, artists ever, lived here. I mean, that's so crazy to think about.
Yeah. And let me give you, if you want a little bit more history, that house was built in 1927. So in 2 more years, that's a 100-year-old home.
Yeah.
It is 9,063 square feet. So it's massive.
That's big.
Let me tell you who else. I'm going to try to tell you else who lived there. So yeah, according to Vanity Fair, prior tenants include Prince, Elton John, Hal Prince, as well as a Saudi prince had lived there at one point in time. So,
wow.
And it really, here's the thing. We know what happened there was god awful, right? Like, I mean, here's the thing about Jose Menendez. Even the prosecutor in that case the only person that she could find to say anything positive about Jose Menendez was his secretary. Nobody else. Even the prosecutor said, and she said this in one of the documentaries recently, that she quickly realized that the world was a better place without Jose Menendez. It doesn't mean that it gives these boys the right to take their lives. But, it would be, the point is, it would be a shame to bulldoze that house. But I mean, how else? There's no other way to really get rid of it. And even if you did, what happened on that land still happened on that land.
Exactly. And so you're saying, Jose was SAing the boys from a very young age, or is that what was happening to
About
them?
six,
Since 6 year old,
allegedly.
since 6 years old, allegedly. That's insane. And to both of them, he was doing this, and the mother let it happen, or was the mother participating also, or?
So what I've learned recently is that the mother. Let's see how we can put this in the best social media
in
terminology
social
here.
media terms, yeah, because people don't understand. You say certain words and they take your advertising dollars.
Yeah, allegedly, the mom had her own thing where she would feel. Apparently, the mom, this is the '80s, right? So the
Okay.
AIDS epidemic was spreading.
Sure.
There was a lot of fear, a lot of misunderstanding around AIDS, and so the mom was apparently very fearful that her son was going to, that was going to get. So she would require her to be able to inspect them for any types of sores or any types of indication. Now, the thought process behind this is that the mom believed Jose was cheating, knew that he was messing around. Again, this is all alleged. He was messing around with the boys. So if the boys had any type of something going on, then she could conclude that Jose was cheating.
Wow.
It's not the most whatever, but that's supposedly what it is. So yeah, allegedly the mom was there. People who were cousins' family were there, knew that when Jose, like everybody in the family knew that Jose would shower with the boys, for example, like after lessons and stuff like that. They knew that when Jose took one of the boys into a locked room, that nobody was allowed to go down the hall. Kitty made that very clear. So I think that she knew more than she let on, and it was one of those, she would do anything to protect Jose at all costs. Because remember, he's the breadwinner. She has this life of excess of Mercedes and designer clothes and houses in Beverly Hills and Calabasas. Yeah, anything they want because of the work that Jose is doing. Brilliant businessman, ruthless businessman, but just a horrible human being, right? According to everything that we know.
Right.
So
and what did he do for work?
I mean, that's kind of. So he worked. Was it Columbia or he was in the music industry. Before that, he headed Hertz. Let me see what his exact title was when he died. I can't remember. Let me look.
It's amazing how many people just stop by tourist wise. Hey, like they're just. I mean, that would be another thing.
I would go.
It's just, that's the thing about this, is you realize is you can't erase the tourism. There's the Thriller house and the Charmed house that's close to where we live. And you just see these houses are a celebrity. Like as we're doing the live feed, I have people who are taking pictures of the home. I mean, there's so many people who come to see the home. So, it brings up a good point. You would have to demolish this home. And like you said, like Prince, Elton John lived here. I don't think even a lot of people are coming to this home.
It's 100 years of history.
Right, 100 years of Hollywood history. And I don't think people are coming to it for anything else but the Menendez. Isn't that interesting? We have Elton John, Prince. I had no clue. I imagine a lot of other people don't. But it's the double homicides that really bring people here. And just thinking of somebody who could do that to their parents, and that's how it was viewed without the context of knowing what was really going on here in this home.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I don't condone what they did, but I do support their release. I think that what they did was wrong, but there were circumstances there. And real quick,
it's a lot of great music, but also, it's like so many of these. You learn about these people, artists that you love, and then you really hear, oh, they were a terrible person. And it's almost having to compartmentalize the art to the person. And it's very disappointing that a person who wrote your favorite music or something like that could be such an awful person. It's not fair. You know what I mean? We think God, that person wrote that amazing love song, but they beat up their wife. How do those two things go together? And it does. I've known songwriters who are terrible people, but they somehow can access human emotion in a way that I can't, even though I feel like I have that human emotion. But to be able to express it in art doesn't mean you're a good person.
Yeah, I agree. Well, going back to Jose in that same regard, he was a pretty impressive person. He came over here as a Cuban immigrant, very young, couldn't speak English at all.
Wow.
Started as a busboy, self-taught, and then got to the level that he was. And so no matter how you want to look at it, no matter how bad of a person he was, and he was a bad person based on what we know, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
And you can't discount that. That's very
that's
impressive.
the American dream, just minus the, abusing your children, right? I mean, gosh, that's amazing.
He goes from a Cuban refugee who can't speak English to living in the most exclusive zip code possibly at that time in the world.
In the world,
in a multi-million-dollar home. It's very, very impressive that he was able to do what he did.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're not only living,
and he would still be here had he not.
Yeah, you're right. It's the top of access, because even at 89 and 90210, I mean, there was not a more popular place to be living, and he was in the heart of it. So, you can imagine the access, and Justin,
Absolutely.
too, I have to get off here, I think, because I have an appointment I have to get to.
Okay.
But is there any last kind of little things we can, kind of end out with at all? Or, and I'd love to almost do this again. This is kind of fun, just coming over here talking about this. So, as things progress with this, I want to try and find out either if the court hearings with them will be here in LA and I can go and cover that, or if when something pops up, we can, So that'll be fun to kind of do, also some lives around that. But I want to start to cover this more, but go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I would leave people with. If you're unfamiliar with it and you want more information, again, you can look at the things that I've done and interviews that I've done. And again, that's YouTube and Substack mostly. However, there is a website, this is not my website, I'm just throwing it out there, justiceforericandlyle.org, and Eric is spelled E-R-I-K, so justiceforericandlyle.org. And you can go there if you want to learn more and kind of see the things that are being said and the status of and basically all of the updated information and new evidence and things that were either left out of the second, which there were things left out of the second trial, and that can be talked about on a different live. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. So if people really want to kind of go learn a little bit more and see how, if they feel that they want to support the release of the brothers and show their support, in a way that's free, go check out that website. It'll give you a lot of good information.
Okay, yeah, and thank you again, Justin, for joining me. I gotta go. I just saw this call was coming in, but thanks again, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon, Sam.
All right, take care. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right.
See you guys.
Secret Service Sam, the podcast. Secret Service Sam, the podcast.